Well, today I'm joined by Randal who, along with his team at T.Rowe Price, are responsible for choosing the stocks that go into the MIQ SMA. Thanks for joining us today, Randal.
Good to see you.
I think most people would be happy to see the back of 2020, but how did you see the last few months of the year play out from an Aussie equity perspective?
It was a really strong end of the year. So if you looked at the December quarter, the Australian equity market increased by 13.7% and global equity markets did really well. And really that was driven by two key events. So we had the US elections, and while we didn't have the blue wave that some people expected, the Democrats still won, but more importantly, we had some really positive vaccine results, particularly from Pfizer and Moderna, showing a really high effectiveness of their vaccines against the coronavirus. So that really drove markets as markets started to think about 2021 and a normalisation of activity in different countries around the world.
I guess if we think about how Australia as a country has handled the pandemic, I mean, notwithstanding what played out in Melbourne midway through the year, we seem to have done a pretty good job handling how it's played out and not having too severe lockdowns. Given the vaccine rollout and the euphoria, I guess the markets took off the back of that, is there less upside for Australian equities?
I don't think so. I mean, as you point out, Australia has done an excellent job at suppressing the virus. And some states have wanted to eliminate the virus because we've done such a good job. Now, that's probably not realistic. But what that does mean is that the domestic economy is in really good shape, much better shape than most other countries around the world. And we could see that coming through in terms of retail sales, improvement in the housing market. So I think what that means for the Australian economy and the Australian equity market is that 2021 looks really good. And so I think we're going to have a really strong recovery and it's going to be more sustained than probably some other countries around the world.
So with that relatively positive backdrop then, how are you positioning the portfolio and what's your outlook for the next 12 months?
So we think that cyclicals are going to be the way that you want to certainly think about positioning yourself for 2021. And that's domestic cyclicals or growth cyclicals, as we like to think about it in a portfolio context, but also global cyclicals. And that's really because, as I touched on earlier, we think we have a really strong consumer environment, a strong housing marketplace, but also the global backdrop is also one of recovery, and that's going to help commodity prices, it's going to help the miners. So in the portfolio, we are putting more money into cyclical growth companies, so think about platform businesses like Domain and like Seek, also some of the consumer discretionary names, and also on the global cyclical side, some of the miners, particularly the base metals companies like an Oz Minerals, for instance.
Yeah, great. Well, let's hope the markets are as positive as you for the next 12 months. Thanks very much, Randal. And thanks for your interest in T.Rowe Price.